As the federal election approaches, we've invited leaders from parties to appear on BNN Bloomberg to share their vision for Canada and to discuss the economic issues that matter to you. This morning, we spoke with Maxime Bernier of the People's Party of Canada, which currently sits in last place in the most recent Nanos poll. There's a look at the current figures. Bernier, who ran for the leadership of the Conservative Party in 2017, founded the PPC a year ago. It is perhaps best known for its views on reducing immigration levels in Canada. Bernier has also made no secret about his plans to shake up the dairy industry and abolish supply management while pushing for more pipelines and reducing interprovincial trade barriers. You might recall last month the People's Party had a controversial anti-immigration billboard which Pattison Outdoor took down in response to what it called overwhelming criticism. We started our interview with Bernier by discussing the issue of immigration.
We receive 320,000 immigrants a year, and our goal is to have 150,000 a year. But instead of receiving 26%, right now 26% of our immigrants are economic immigrants. We want to increase that ratio at 50%. So yes, we'll have fewer immigrants, but more economic immigrants. And I think it's important because our immigration policy must be there to fulfill our economic needs, and it is not the case right now.
Economists would argue that demographics argue for a larger number of immigrants to offset an aging population. And I'm wondering if you found any businesses who support the idea of having fewer immigrants at a time where we're looking at unemployment rates near record lows.
Yeah, for the business, I think the solution can be immigration, but also there's other solution for them to find workers. First of all, as you know, we have a tax platform that is very aggressive. We want to have a flat tax on business at 10%, no more capital gains tax. So the goal is to give more of their own money to the entrepreneurs to be able to have more, investing more in their productivities and also being able to raise the salary if necessary, and also the immigration. That's why 50% of our immigrants being economic immigrants, that will help, not 26%. So to do that, we want to lower the number of refugees. As you know, we receive, if you look at all the other Western countries, by absolute number, we receive more refugees than any other Western country. So we need to stop that and helping the real refugees, but at the same time having more economic immigrants.
And yet, when we hear from business leaders, they don't gripe about the type of immigrants that are coming in, but really just advocating for more of a labor force. And I'm curious, as you have unveiled this platform and you campaign for it, have you found businesses endorsing what you are suggesting?
Well, I think so. They will. They like our economic platform. And on immigration, yes, there's a huge delay right now to have temporary foreign workers. And it's about 10 months right now. And that's an urgency for them. We won't do anything there. What we will do, we will improve the process. We'll put more money there. Instead of 10 months, it must be a month. And they are waiting after the federal government for having the approval for the temporary foreign workers, and that's important for them, and I want to help them to have these people as soon as possible.
Let's talk about the billboards that centered around immigration. What was your reaction when you learned that they were going to be removed?
But first of all, that was not our billboards, but I was okay with the message. We are against mass immigration, and for us, mass immigration is 350,000 newcomers a year. If you have 350,000 a year per capita, our country will be the country that will receive the most immigrants per capita. So, and 350,000 a year after 3 years, it's 1 million people. It's the population of Nova Scotia year after year. So we must have a discussion about immigration, and I'm very pleased that these billboards help us to have that discussion. But actually, that was not our decision, and it's too bad that the corporation decided to withdraw these billboards, but that was their private decision. So they were in their right to do that also.
One of the economic issues we've talked a lot about here on BNN Bloomberg is the energy industry and policies going forward. Yeah. You have talked about wanting to have more pipelines built in this country. Can you be more specific on that when it comes to your policies, which you have discussed? How many pipelines do you think we can get built in this country?
As much as the private sector wants. It must not be the role of the federal government to build pipelines. That's not the role of the government. But yes, we must have an economic environment that will help the private sector to build pipelines. And right now, we don't have that. So that's why I'm saying we're the only political party really to use the Constitution, the Section 9210, to be able to declare a pipeline for the advantage of our country. Doing that, the federal government will have the full responsibility, the full jurisdiction over pipeline, and it would be able to approve pipeline after consultation with provinces. But if we cannot please every provinces, we'll have to go ahead. It's too important for the prosperity of our country, but also for the unity of our country. As you know, in Alberta right now, 25% of the population are looking to the separation, and it's not good for the country. And I think they have a point over there. So to be sure to build pipelines, we need to use the Constitution, and like that also having a process that will be streamlined, that will be quicker. That's important by abolishing Bill C-48 and Bill C-69. So that's a strong position. And yes, my goal as a politician is to convince other provinces like the Quebec government to agree with that. But if not, we'll use the Constitution. I think in Quebec, people understand that it's safer to transport oil and gas by pipelines than by train, because we had a huge tragedy in Lake Mégantic 7 years ago.
Let's talk about the pipelines that are currently being contemplated.
Yeah.
Keystone XL, Line 3 expansion, and Trans Mountain.
Yeah.
The government purchased Trans Mountain and is trying to get that through. It is tied up in courts. The other two are delayed in the United States. What would new leadership be able to achieve on those fronts? Or are you talking about green lighting or going back to old projects like the Northern Gateway, or to your point about Quebec Energy East?
Yeah, the Energy East would be important. I hope that the private sector will think twice. But I understand that they don't want to build pipelines right now because the environment, the political environment, is not so good with the Trudeau government actually right now. So yes, we are in favor of that. And we must also promote our industry in the US and all over the world. The world will need gas, oil and gas, and that's not the end of this industry. There's a boom over there. So our policy is in line also with our climate change policy. As you know, we don't believe that there's a climate emergency in this country. And we think that we must be able to build this pipeline and use that energy for Canadian consumers, but also consumers from all across the world.
Let's talk about monetary policy. Right now, there's a difference of opinion here in Canada when it comes to the central bank versus the Federal Reserve, which is now cutting interest rates. What has been your assessment of the Bank of Canada and Stephen Poloz in handling the issue of interest rates?
I think they did well. I don't want to interfere. They're very independent from the government. Every 5 years, the government can have a new deal with the bank about their inflation target. That's the only time when politicians can have an impact on the monetary policy, and the monetary policy must be independent from the government. I want to do like other politicians, asking the Bank of Canada to do other things than what they're doing. We have the opportunity every 5 years to ask the bank to set an inflation target, and that's it. And I think the bank is working right now in the inflation target that the government asked them, so the 2% target. And I think we'll see. The challenge that we have is a lot of Canadians have huge debts right now, and so and also corporation. So we must deal with that we must deal in that, knowing that if the interest rate is going up, that can have an impact on the economy. But that's not my job. The interest rate are the job of the governor of the bank, and I'm happy with what he's doing right now.
But part of your job could be managing those household debt levels and creating policies that help to mitigate, as well as trying to boost affordability. We've seen some announcements by other parties on what they would do on that front. What would you do?
Well, first of all, everybody is speaking about affordability, but we have a policy for that. We have a tax plan that will give back $35 billion to Canadians by having only two tax rates, a tax rate at 15% for earnings more than $15,000 to $100,000, and another tax rate at 25%. So that will help. They will have more money in their pockets, and that will help everybody. We believe that Canadians know better what to do with their money, and that's why we must give them more of their own money, and they will create jobs and wealth in this country. And at the same time, we want to abolish the capital gains tax in this country. That would be important. Our first budget must be a pro-investment budget. So no more capital gains tax or tax reform, and like that, that will boost the economy, and after that would be able in 2 years to balance the budget.
That was People's Party of Canada leader Maxime Bernier joining us this morning.